So let us start with our session. So first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking out your time and coming up to look at what's coming up new. So we are very excited to come up with this product invoice. In fact, this was one of the products wherein we've been receiving our clients' feedback, comment that this is what the need of an hour is, and that's how we've come up with the product very quickly for you guys. So I guess post introduction of the section 194Q, where TDS was also introduced on goods, so that made certain things bit complex for each one of us, how we actually deal with those kind of cases, because we see the volume significantly going up. So earlier it was only the service which was under the preview, wherein the customers used to deduct the tax and where you had to reconcile it. However, these days it's almost all companies get covered under the gambit. So that's where we see the solution will usually help you guys to take care of those credits. So yeah, so just going on to the agenda for the today's session. So we will be taking up quickly what's the need of reconciling the 26 years, also touching base upon what are the challenges we saw across our clients, what is the solution brief that we have for you guys, and we'll definitely take you guys through the live session and show you how exactly the tool functions. And we'll have a 10-minute session for Q&A. And while I'm going through all the pointers, in case you have any questions, you may definitely put it into your comment box, and wherein we'll be happy to answer and take those. And as Devina mentioned, we'll keep it very interactive. So there are around 5 polls wherein we'll be taking and requiring certain inputs from you, so that data gives us a better understanding of what topics to emphasize on. Great. So, touching up upon why is this so important? Why the 26 areas reconciliation have become important these days? So, as I told you, both the TDS and TCS are reflected into our 26 AS statement, and we are eligible to take credit on those tax credits. So, this usually was not previously done by most of the organizations. We used to rely on the tax ledger and take the credit. And since it has been introduced on goods lately, so it's very important and crucial for as a business to get it reconciled. So what are the business benefits that we see? It helps you to prevent your working capital blockage due to the TDS mismatches. So now you can effectively do a reconciliation quarter on quarter basis. No need to wait for a year's time for the credit to be reflected and to then reconcile it. So that's a huge advantage that you have doing the reconciliations on a quarterly basis. It actually helps you also prevent a loss of credit, because these days we see there was a lot of ambiguity between the sections when TCS was also introduced, TDS was also introduced. So we were also not very clear what are the provisions wherein the TDS will be deducted for our customer. So it's really important as a business for us to reconcile these credit, so that we are clear, okay, I have to receive and the money from the customers in form of TDS, or he has to actually pay me the money back, right? So, and the last case, which most of us, I'm sure, would be struggling these days, is when you get a tax scrutiny, it really becomes difficult to go back to the reconciliations, which is a 2 year back, and actually identify which credits have been taken, which credits have not been taken. So that's a real big pain point. I'm sure you would have also experienced the person who's done the RICO 2 years back is no longer with the organization, and it creates a hell lot of problem for you to actually make the submission to the tax department. So these are typically the business needs that we see, which requires you to actually reconcile your tax credit. So let's quickly have a poll between what are the transactions that your customers are deducting TDS. Is it for services? Is it for the goods? Or is it both? So, Devina, can we have the first poll up for the audience?
Sure, Jay. The poll is up.
All right. So, as you can see, there are three options. So, you may kindly choose one of the options for us to get a better clarity. So, we see many of them going for, say, stating that both. So, both services and TDS is where we see a 55%, and for services, we are seeing, say, around about 42%. Right, right. Great. So with this understanding, now we are clear that the applicability for you is at both the ends, both for the goods as well as service. So few of y'all would already be reconciling with the 26 years before, and there will be certain people who will be new in doing the reconciliation due to the latest amendments. Great. So with this, let us move ahead and look at what are the current challenges that we face while doing the reconciliation. So challenge number A is very clear. The data has gone up. It is very voluminous and very cumbersome for us to actually reconcile it. The second is inadequate data. I'm sure most of us would agree that we would have collected PAN details at maximum in our record, but not all cases we have the TAN numbers updated, right? So that's where the second challenge comes in. The third challenge is basically there are timing difference. Most of the cases of March are getting credited in April, and similarly quarter on quarter the credit is carry forwarded. The last one is how do you essentially follow up with your customers in case there is a mismatch, because the list is huge, so it goes into 100 200 parties wherein you have to actually check with them and understand what are the reasons for mismatches. So these are typically the challenges we see our clients are facing. So that's where we are trying to also help you and get a solution around it so that we can actually overcome these challenges. So we have the next poll for you, that if you can help us know which of these four or maybe all of them are your current pain points. So Divina, if we can have the second poll up for the audience.
Yes, Jed's up already.
Sure. Right. So you started receiving the inputs, voluminous data, follow-ups. There is a different time difference. There is inadequate data. So majority of them say that it's a voluminous data, the data is inadequate. Yeah, we're still receiving the polls.
Yes, we
Right.
are receiving the responses. We can wait for a minute, few
Sure.
seconds.
Right. So what I'm able to see, 76% say that it's a voluminous data. Again, 38% say it's in customer follow-ups. There are 57% say there are inadequate data. So more or less, what we see the problem is there across all the companies, and that's what we've been also seeing as part of the poll results. Let's look at what's the solution that we've come up with. What is it taking care, what are the pain points being solved under the solution. So the first and the biggest pain point of not having a proper data, so you do not have the TAN updated, so don't need to worry, we can help you identify those TAN details. So what you need to just provide us is the PAN number of your party, and we'll help you identify which is the TAN number of the customer. So that's been taken care of. The second important pain point is, as you know, the details are available either in a text format or a PDF format. So we have a converter built in wherein it actually helps you easily convert your text data into an Excel format, and that's very easy for you to import it into our software. So that's where the second solution is there. The third pain point is actually analyzing the voluminous data, identifying what are the mismatches, and also communicating back to the party. So the entire solution is a very holistic end to end, which will cater to all the pain points that you previously had. So that's what the aim was, to bridge the entire gap between wherever you see there is a lag, and that's where we've the our team has done a a good job there, right? So few of the software benefits, just taking you through on just a very quick highlight, that there is a TAN number mapping that our team can help you actually one time map the TAN details. We highlight what where is the mismatch in actually buckets out. You have an option to do a quarterly, half yearly, yearly reconciliation. Volumes is no longer a challenge. Even managing party communication no longer a challenge. And most importantly, you have these actionable report, and these reports are stored till the time you actually complete your assessment. So that's also one of the advantage that you have doing reconciliations with the software. So yeah, it's a web-based software wherein it can be accessible to you anytime, anywhere. So that's where the features are. And just two more polls, and then we move on to our live demo, wherein I show you step by step how first problem, second, third are taken care of. So just if you can help us with what's the current frequency of reconciliation in your organization. Yeah, so you will see three options popping up: yearly, half yearly, quarterly. Right. Good to know many of them do a yearly repo and a quarterly repo too. So because quarterly is what is essential for us to identify any credit that is being blocked, any working capital being blocked. Good, good. So most of them are, say, 50% are into a quarterly bracket, 31% into a yearly, and 15% into a half yearly. So that's what the stat is. Quickly, a next stat. So most of you all mentioned the data is voluminous. So if in a range, if we can help us identify what's the volume of data that you are looking to manage. So Devina, if we can have the next poll of the number of entries, right? Right. So we have people who have more than, say, a lakh entry. There are around 11% into a bracket of 50,000 to 1 lakh entries, and 25% into 10,000 to 50,000, and 50% people have below 10,000 worth of entries to be reconciled. So understood. So this is the volume of data you are actually working on. So let us move ahead and understand step by step what are the challenges, what is the solution to the challenges that we've brought up. So the very first point is, as I mentioned, is the conversion of the text file. So most of you would be aware there is a text file which gets extracted from the traces portal. So this is typically how the text file would look at like. So all you need to do is you just need to paste the data into a format that we provide. So you just paste the data here, and you use our Excel macro utilities, wherein we help you actually structurize and standardize the data. So this is how it will be very quick for you to actually structure your data into a format which the input accepts, the system is accepting. So these are the two macros that we are providing, and this helps you actually structure your data. The data would be in a format of name, TAN number, what is the section under which the TDS is deducted, its date, the status of booking, and what is the amount credited, and what is the TDS which is being deposited by the party. So as you can see, that be it whatever lines of data, you actually first problem statement of conversion is getting solved. So this is how you are able to actually convert your file into an input which the system accepts. So that's one of the challenge that we see was there in terms of the 26AS file. Coming back to our TDS ledger. So TDS ledger, I also have one sample TDS ledger with me. So let me just pull up the ledger. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible, Jay.
So this is a sample TDS ledger. I have only taken up the required columns. Your TDS ledger can run into multiple columns. It can have the invoice number. It can have all the details which is there into it. But what are the required columns that we need for us to reconcile? We need the amount, we need the date, we need the party name and the TAN. So TAN number, as I told you, is again could be a challenge for your organization. So that's where we help you actually link your TAN versus your PAN. So let me also quickly show you how the linking is being done. So what data you need to provide us would be is, say, what is your customer name, the customer code, and the customer PAN. So this is typically a data that we would want to receive, and will also be available with you. And against it, we help you map what are the name for this particular customer. So many a times we see that we do not write the full name into our system, and there are different ways to write it. So these are actually the names that are pulled up from what are the names appearing as for that specific PAN, whether the PAN status is active, inactive, and what is the TAN details corresponding to those PAN details. So the second biggest pain point which we had is we did not had the TAN details available with us. So this is a one-time exercise that we actually help you with in mapping the TAN. And once this is done, it is more about having a TAN field added into your customer database. So as soon as a new customer is onboarded, you have the TAN of his collected. There is one more point which most of you would also undergo is there could be multiple TAN details. So one company can have multiple TANs. So in that case, if you are able, you have a separate customer code and you know what TAN it is to be mapped with. So you can actually go ahead and map the specific TAN to that customer code. Else, the second option available to you would be to have one single PAN for across all the customer codes. So that's how the multiple PAN scenario can be covered here. We'll go into more details while we actually do the reconciliation of this. So this is how we actually help you map the TAN numbers for your each customer code, and this is what you can pull up into your uh, TDS ledger. So the TDS ledger is basically you can get it a report from your IT team that these are the columns are minimum required for me to have it and for all the customers. Usually it would be a year-on-year document. So it depends on what's the practice uh, you have and the way the report is extracted, right? So far, hope it's clear for you. I've received one question, so maybe I'll take it at the end of the session, right? So right. So let's move to the part ahead. So once I have the data now, how do I approach? How do I actually reconcile the data sets? So the data sets can be reconciled. You can log into our application, which is app.firmware.in. So into the applications, we have a reconciliation module, and under the reconciliation module, you can use the 26AS module. So under 26AS module, you have the list of reconciliations which you've already done or which are partially done by you, and you have a new reconciliation option available over here. So what happens is once you click on a new option, you will be asked to upload both the input sheets. So both your TDS receivable is where is uploaded into this section, and the 26AS is uploaded into this section. So this is how both the files that you had originally prepared, you will upload it. Once you upload the file, it gets reflected onto your screen. And as a next step, what it will do is it will try to find out a match in your data. So say we have identified what is the TAN number. So TDS amount is what say is the TDS amount. So you can actually map it. And this is a one-time mapping which you would be required, and the mapping can be saved into the system. So next quarter, you don't have to map the file again and again. So you just save it and proceed. Similarly, for the 26AS, you need to map which is the tan of the deductor, what is the amount. So amount is basically your TDS deposited, your transaction date, which is this, the name of deductor, and status of booking. So these are the necessary fields that you need to map. The reason to come up with this is, say you would have ledger wherein the second column or the fourth column could be 10. So no need to worry. You can actually map it and help us know which column to read as what. And once these mappings are saved, you move on to the last step of reconciliation, wherein you can run an auto reconciliation, and system will actually help you reconcile these entries. So unlike GST reconciliation, you will not find that the TDS ledger that is received, the 26AS form, has a invoice number mentioned into it, because the filing itself does not require that. And even in your books, you will not see you have invoice numbers at most of the places, because the moment you receive a payment from a customer, say it could be a combined 4 to 5 invoices together, you pass a TDS entry for all the 5 invoices. So that's where we do not have a invoice number field mandatorily required. However, the system takes care of what are the various logics through which it goes through, and it will give you a reconciled output, right? So meanwhile this process happens. So typically a file with say a 10,000 record would take say less than 5 minutes to reconcile, and with a higher volume we give you those higher server capacity, so that the reconciliations are faster for you, right? So meanwhile the reconciliation happens, let me also show you a reconciled output. I'll just put my laptop on charge. Right. So let me just show you a reconciled output. How is it that system actually does the reconciliation? So I just downloaded the output. So the output typically will be in a format of what are the entries that are reconciled, what are the entries which are reconciled with a tolerance. Is there any case or scenario where I have a short deduction of a TDS? Is there any case where I have an excess deduction? Or is there a case where the TDS for that specific is not at all reflected by in my 26 years? And the case could also be vice versa. There could also be certain cases where the tan are missing. So those are the remote cases where we do not are not able to locate the tan. So that's how a summary would be appearing for you. And once we go on to the detailed repo, so the repo sheet basically will contain, each entry will have its own unique ID. It will have a ID to which it is being mapped to, so that you know what are the mapping and what is the tagging for you to identify it at later point in time. There is a status. So there is a status to each entry. There is a classification to each entry. The statuses are say basically whether it's a single one-to-one match, one-to-many match. So let me just filter on a classification for entries which are being reconciled. So by reconcile, we have two categories under reconciliation. So one is a direct one-to-one match. So wherein we were able to identify what is the amount in our books and vis-a-vis what is the amount into the 26AS for that specific TAN. So that's a entry level reconciliation. And in case where we see the entries are clubbed and reconciled at say at a TAN level, at a quarterly level, at a weekly level. So that's what is getting combined as part of multiple entries, and we help you identify. So let me just pick up one TAN to explain you this. So say for this specific entry which has been reconciled for this specific TAN, what we see is the amount in our ledger appears as say 84,000, and that's what is the entry appearing in the 26 days. So there is a tolerance that you can set. So 2 rupees, say up to 10 rupees is a default tolerance, and you can actually change that tolerance. So based on that tolerance, you will get a match with your 26 AS data. So that's how the reconciliation has been broken down into. So we see the major challenge is the data does not get matched directly one to one. So we have all the algorithms built in wherein it first goes and checks at whether at a tan level it matches, breaking the tan level at a quarter level matches at a weekly level, and then coming down to at a single entry level, combining those entries for a specific date, and then finding you a match. So at the end of it, you are left with those entries which are clearly not found in your say 26 years. So there overall there was a 41 lakh into my TDS receivable ledger and say 34 lakhs appearing in 26 years statement. So I now I'm able to know that which is the amount which is of that 41, where is this 33 lakhs getting reconciled, and why is this 7 lakhs, which specific parties it is not getting reconciled. There is also one of the case where the amount is appearing into your tax credit, but we have not taken. So that's where the second advantage, where we see any credits that are missing or we are not claiming can also be taken with the specific reconciliation. So I'm sure till here it's clear. So let me just pick up two questions that I have received. So let me answer it before I actually move ahead to look at how do you now do the last leg of it, wherein you actually communicate with these parties and get the reconciliation closed. So the first question that I've received is this TDS ledger of the company. Yes, that ledger that I had shown you was a TDS ledger. I had just taken certain columns which I had required. However, the TDS ledger can be a very big ledger wherein it can have all the columns that you download from whichever system you use. So maybe your SAP, Tally, or Excel, right? The so hope that answers the question. The next question I have received is for 26 AS recon. I am more concerned at customer TAN PAN level, which we cannot do through a basic Excel function. Why do we need any? Why do we use any tool unlike 2A, and we do not need to do in line of item level recon, right? So Mayank, you can do it both the ways, either at a item level or at a pan level. So that's what we actually do as well. So first we actually look at your tan pen level, and uh, there are entries which are reconciled at a tan pen level, that those are first flagged out. And even if the entries are not reconciling at a tan pan level, so rather than looking at an entire year transaction, if we tell you that this is the specific quarter which is not matching, or this is a specific month or a specific entry which is not matching, so then your job is much simpler to actually dig out into these transactions, rather than doing and sitting and looking at for the entire yearly transactions, right? So hope that answers the query. There is the next question which I have received, whether the system takes into consideration 26 AS, RECO of the previous year and income booked in current year. So in that case, what you will have to do is, for the unmatched entries of our last financial year, you can actually put it as your input file into the next recon, wherein it can definitely consider those entries. Because after reconciling, say in case there are certain entries wherein you are finding out on your own, so those not get updated in system. So that's where you just have to simply add those entries as part of your new year's reconciliation, and that's where the matching can be done with the previous. So this will be applicable more as a March and the April transaction, because that's where we'll see maximum of case being going into the next year, right? So I hope that answers the query. If not, you may just put a comment for me to re-explain it, right? So there is a next question. Can we get a YouTube recording of those who missed the session? Sure. So we are actually having a session recorded. So once the seminar gets completed, the launch gets completed, we'll be able to share with you the both the recording as well as those who want the presentation as well, right? So hi Jay. Just a second. Right. So hi Jay, if multiple entries are appearing in Form 26 as consolidated entries, will it reconcile? Yes, so I have a question that if there are multiple entries in 26AS and in my books I have passed only single entry, so ideally it will get reconciled. So we usually run these reconciliations on rules. So in one of the rules that we see, where we what we do is we actually combine those entries based on dates, combine the entries based on a month, quarter, and then try to find out a match into your 26A statements. So that's where we see those entries can be reconciled. However, what we would recommend is actually working out on your set of data. So each set of data is totally different. So you can actually try out on your set of data how it works. And if you are satisfied and we see there are rules that can be built in around it wherein it actually reconciles, that's what we do. So reconciliation is what we've been doing since last 4.5 5 years. So we started with GST, then we also do ledgers, and now this is TDS e-commerce payment. So that's where our core forte is. So what I usually look at for is patterns. So if we are getting patterns, is then it can be reconciled, right? There is last question which I have. Are advance entries without invoice number details also considered? Yes. So as you see, the input sheet, I nowhere have considered invoice number at all. So what we have taken is just an entry. So because even if we take invoice details, it will be good wherein we can club it and reconcile it. But into your 26A statement, you will never get a invoice number detail. So if the advance amount of TDS matches with the amount of the actual invoices, so that's where we see the case being reconciled and will also be considered for a reconciliation. Right. So we can have questions which are asked. You guys can keep posting the questions there, and let me take you back to the further leg of how actually do I communicate. In fact, the screen that you are able to see is the leg of communication. So let me just show you how effectively you can actually communicate to these parties. So for doing these, sending out these communications, you can use the confirmation module that we have. This module typically will require the unmatched data, the unmatched data of the reconciliations that we had. And in addition to that, you just need to have your customer masters. So the customer's master will typically contain a email ID of the person to whom you want to actually send out the request to. So say you will have the TAN, you will have the name of the party and to whom you want to roll out this request to, and what is the mismatch, what quarter and year it belongs to, and what is the mismatch amount. And in the attachment sheet, you basically keep in all the unmatched entries which are not being reconciled by uh, the reconciliation. So that's where you just need to, as a one time, get this data updated for you, and you will just trigger the request to all these parties. So with the help of this module, you essentially are able to communicate with those 300 to 500 parties that you deal with. Hey, this is the mismatch that we've observed, and kindly revert back with your data. So this is how you can actually uh, trigger a request to them, and each one would receive email like this stating that okay, that this is the TDS differences that we've identified for this quarter, and there are two specific asks that you might have. You would want to take the invoice details of the mismatches that you have, and you would also want to take a form 26A 16A from him, so digitally signed. So that actually gives you a comfort. Okay, this is the credit and this is the form that I'm getting. So this is a customizable email wherein it can be customized as per what your need is. And what the party can do is they have an option wherein they actually see and look out where the differences is. which of the details are not getting reconciled in your repo, and they can actually reply back. So they have options like replying back to this on email, or we also give them a portal wherein they can attach their details, and wherein they can confirm if this is the amount of differences they are getting, and they can upload their details here. So that's where what we see is, even if the last leg of getting it uh, informed to the customers, getting a response in a structured way from them, and actually managing these mismatches can also be done from this single platform. So that's where you have an edge, that an end to, as I told you at the start, the product that we bought of is an end-to-end product, wherein even if you do not have the tan detail, we get the things updated for you. Even if you want to follow up with the parties, that's what is being taken care for you. So this is how we feel that businesses could now take up reconciliation in a more automated way, more organized way, since all of you had mentioned the list of challenges you guys face through. So that's how a solution is being structured, and we've been continuously working, and we'll also be happy to get your feedback, suggestions, any feature requests. Since it's a initial launch, we want the thing to get better, and in fact this is what we've been learning from our customers, existing customers that we deal with. So really happy to get those feedbacks, input from you, and to make it more better. So I have couple of questions received, so let me just go back to questions and try to answer those for you. There is a question: can we do a revenue reconciliation through this? So yes. So as you know, the tool that we have created, it is basically helps us reconcile any ledgers in 26AS, TDS. So revenue reconciliation is also possible. So if I can get more understanding of the data, what is the data points that you have? So typically we set up rules into our system wherein we help you reconcile two data sets. So if there are, say, order level reco that you want to do, matches of your, say, invoices, so that's where we are capable of doing, right? So there is one question: will email ID be auto-populated, or do I need to ask to add it from my data? So the email would not get auto-populated. So that is basically the master that you would have. So from your master is what you can pull out. Yeah, definitely. If, say, you, depending upon the accounting system, we can build up connectors through which we can get a data into that format. So it is basically pulling up the master table and the details from there. So if you want to have a connector built up, so that's where we also do. For Tally, we have a collector ready wherein it can help you take out those details from it. And for SAP, usually we recommend a Z report for our clients, wherein they are able to get a customized report and which helps them. The next question I have received is the tool cloud based? What is the average time taken to perform recon for 50K line items? Yes, the tool is cloud based. So typically a 50K line item should take nearly about 15 to 20 minutes to reconcile, right? So if there are any further questions, you may post it. I'll just take you through certain additional details which I have with me, right? So, just summing up, what are the benefits that we see out of reconciling? Is it actually helps you save your taxes? It provides you a accurate TDS credit amount to be taken. There are reports which are available. So for CFOs, tax heads, any credit lockups are can be identified through with the help of tool. And definitely, it also saves time of follow-ups, because it is not the one single follow-up which is done. There are series of follow-ups, so you can actually set up an auto reminder to your client wherein if a person has not responded, it actually goes back, and after say 7 days, after 15 days, it will check up that okay, I have not received a response. So the very important and crucial aspect of getting a closure is what it will help you with. And as you can see, it brings us accuracy. We actually have a very prompt response to tax authority. So even if today there will be cases where you are dealing with the authorities, wherein 2 years back you want to get your reconciliations done. So that's also what we can help you with. So for those cases is where you see a advantage coming in, right? And you are actually doing it very proactively, not waiting for a year to end and complete the stuff. So that's where we see as a benefit the tool can give us. And talking about the security, what I can tell you is we've been using this their entire different products that we have. We've been using it for more than 650 odd clients. So wherein security also is a very good amount of care that we've taken. So we get ourselves audited. There are ISO certificates of our cloud. So we are hosted on AWS, which is in today's date the most secure cloud. There is SSL certificates, encryption. There are various level of security measures that have been taken care by us for hosting this solution. Few of the clients that we deal with are, say, we deal with groups from pharma, from IPCA, Abort. So there are also clients, e-commerce clients. There are clients in telecom, huge manufacturing, logistics services. So these are various clients across various sectors that we are dealing with. So for those who are new to Homeway, so maybe this is what we have grown till now. And also a quick overview of, apart from this solution, we are also having other solutions. Most of you, I'm sure, would be aware the confirmation part of it, the reconciliation, the data management, and the collection. So these are typically four odd modules that we cater to. And in reconciliation, we are diving in more deeper the ledger, GST, e-commerce payment gateway. So these are the kind of reconciliations that we've been taking up. Confirmations, it's for both your management, internal controls, for your statutory audit, and also get vendor MSME confirmation done. So, and data management is typically where you can actually get the things updated from your customer. So say you want to get your data KYC checked or verified, so that's where you use the tool. So basically you will find our services more towards how you can actually engage effectively with your customers, vendors, or third parties, and get the things sorted from there. And reconciliation is what we are going more deeper and deeper into. So yeah, so that's about our offering. I have received two more questions. I'll quickly go back to that, and we have our last poll for you guys. So can you please explain the pan tan mapping, how we are extracting tan data using pan as an input? So what we have is we have a separate tool wherein we actually, with the help of pan, we are getting the details of what is the name of the company of that specific pan. And through that, once we get a name of the party, we are able to also map out what is the tan. So we'll be happy to discuss with you further on this. Maybe we can have further more sessions done for you to actually help you out. So this is the activity where our team will also get involved with your team, and it's a joint activity that gets carried out, and you get your TAN details updated for the masters. Right. So as a last poll that we have is, we would want to know that when are you actually planning to automate this reconciliation tool? So Devina, if we can have the last poll for the audience.
Yes. So the poll is up.
Right. So there is a poll. There are three options available. So you may help us also know that what is your plan to actually get it automated. So that's where we can help you, and we'll be happy to assist you at various stages. Would you want to get a software, or you want a help in specific area? So that's where also is what we can cater to. Fine. So happy to see that there are 60% of them wanting to finalize their this automation, say within a week's time or a month's time, and there are other 30% who would want some more time to further decide and check out for certain more solutions there. Great. So we are able to get your feedback. Would be really happy to answer if there are any questions which have not been taken up. So I'm just leaving behind you the coordinates. So Devina, if you can also share the details, the contact details of our business development team, so that in case they want to reach out to us for further queries, they can definitely do. So there is this email which I have for you is hello@firmware.in. So that's where you can actually put your query, and Devina has also shared a contact detail. So in case you want to know more about the product offering, any specific queries you have, so feel free to reach out to us.
So the coordinates are on the answer section itself. You can connect with us on hello@firmware.in, or also you can call us on 96534 84606. So our team will be available to assist you as well over there. We can wait for a few minutes if there is any other questions. So Jay can take that questions as well.
Sure. Really happy to understand if any specific pain points you guys have and any solutions we can bring you around those.
Further, I also got to know some people wanted over YouTube link as well. So
Right.
yes, by the end of the day, we will be sharing the YouTube link over your phone numbers or your emails, either of it. So you will be receiving the PDF copy of this session as well as the YouTube link both.
Right. So I guess there are no further questions by the audience. So really thankful for you guys participating in it. Do you have any suggestions, feedback? Do reach us out.
Thank you so much, Jay, for this wonderful session.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.